Good morning. Welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime. I want to dedicate this year with the Atzlacha of Ben Zion, Ben Dosa, and family, and to the upcoming Bar Mitzvah. Where is Rav Reuven, your son? It's Hashem. Should have much nachas de Kedusha. Should become a marbitz Torah vehoira beklal Yisrael im Eretz Hashem. Parashas Balak, strange name, Balak. In Yom Lamed Ches we learn Reshaim lo maskinan bishmayu. We do not use the name of Reshaim. Are you familiar with anyone who calls his son Balak? Balaki? Balakile? Not familiar. So how come Balak gets a parsha on his name? Balak. We spoke about it, I think, a few weeks ago, and we said we're going to mention it when we get to Balak. So this is the time. In Sanhedrin, Kufay Amud Beis, we learned that all the klalos that Bilam wanted to curse, hired by Balak, were turned into brachos. And these are eternal brachos, some of which we use every single day. Matovu or Alecha Yaakov, that Bilam said. So we get brachos from this man. Eternal brachos. I think for that he should merit to get the parsha on his name. But Reb Meir Mishlan said it differently. You know, the Goyim are not crazy about us. And the more things change, the more they stay the same. They don't like us. But many times, they come to us and they hug us and say, "Oh, my brother, I love you." You have to be very careful. Finally, we see a goy who doesn't lie. Balak says, "I hate them. I want to curse him. I want to get rid of them." Oh, an emesdik, a man. An emesdik, a goy, that's also something, you get something for that. Not only that, Balak is mekayim halacha. Halacha? Halacha, this is in the language of Chazal. Halacha, beyadua, Esav soine leYaakov. They don't like us. It's a halacha. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says, halacha. Mimele, Balak is mekayim it with all the hidurim, mideoraisa u'miderabanan, and he's proud of it, and he tells everybody about it. No, you're emistic, you don't lie. He says, I hate them, straight out. And you mekayim halachos, you get something for that. Mimele gets the name of the parsha. But Reshaim lo maskinan bishmayu, but we don't use the name of Arasha. This is in your face to Balak. You know what happens to him now in his grave? He's just turning in his grave. They're using his name to get all the brachos that he wanted to curse. It's driving him crazy. It's not like he's getting something out of it. Mimeh, there's no problem calling this parsha Parshas Balak.
You don't have to follow the same Shir. Usually we mention Shah.
Right, Shemikav. That's the Gemara in Yom Lamed Ches. But because so much good came out of it, eternal brachos for Klal Yisrael. So therefore, he gets something for it, and we see it at the end of the parsha. Sanhedrin Kufay, the Gemara says, Bishchar 42 korbanos shehikriv Balak, for the merit of the 42 korbanos that Balak brought to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zacha v'yatza mimeno, he merits to have root. In essence, Mashiach Tzidkenu, coming from where? From Balak. Ultimately, something good came out of it. So, he gets something. We said last week, Parshas Chukas, the end of the Parsha, that Moshe Rabbeinu was about to fight Og, and he was afraid of him. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Al tiro, so don't be afraid. And the Gemara Nida Daf Samech Aleph asks, and why should he be afraid? He fought Sichon, his brother, no problem with that, and he wasn't scared, and Sichon is a giant just like Og. But the Gemara says, the Azakanim Balato said on the Parsha, last week Parsha, on the Pasuk Al Tira Oto, this is the same Og that told Avram, you know, your nephew Lot was kidnapped. So Avram says, wow, Shkoyach, that's so nice of you. And he went and he rescued Lot. But that wasn't his intention, to help Avram. He wanted Avram to go to war and to die. And he should be able to marry Sarah. And yet, he did something good came out of it. Even though he had bad intentions, his zchut carries out for hundreds of years. It's the same Og from the time of Avram to the time of Moshe. And you have something good stored for you. So you do something that ultimately turns out to be good. Even though your intentions were not so good, you get something for it. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're not going to go necessarily according to chronological order, but we're going back and forth with the inyanim of Bilam, Balak, and the donkey.
We say, when you give the machshava to do something.
Kiddushin Daf Mem. Machshava Ra'a, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Eino Metzarfa Lemaise. Machshava Toiva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Metzarfa Lemaise. The reverse by Agoy. By Agoy, Machshava Toiva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't combine it with the Maise. Machshava Ra'a, HaKadosh Baruch Hu combines it. But here there was a good Maise at the end. The machshava was ra, but the ma'aseh was good. So no problem. Vayichar af Elokim. Why? Ki hoilechu HaKadosh Baruch Hu was upset with Bilam because he is going. Why was he exactly upset? A tremendous chiddush from the Tumas Sadeshin carries a lot of weight. If you would say it in the name of someone else, you may smile, but this is Tumas Sadeshin. And Tumas Sadeshin says, you know why he was upset? Because how was he traveling? Imagine, President B.I.D., whatever his name is, comes here to visit. President of the United States. He gets off the plane, and you know, when the Americans send their president, they send him with the cars. It's not like you use an Israeli car. So, out of this gigantic Air Force One comes out a beaten up Beetle from 45 years ago. You know those Volkswagen? And they put him in there and he can barely move. And they start driving him around in the streets of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. What a disgrace. That's a disgrace. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was upset at Bilam because he is driving his donkey. He was driving a female donkey, the Aton, which the Tumas Sadeshin says it's such a low animal that when you're riding it, it looks as if you're walking. I'm giving you nevuah. You're a prophet. You have my name on you. And this is how you travel? It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And that's why the ministers of Moab says, what happened to your car? Why are you driving your donkey? How come you're not on a horse? And Bilam had to give him an excuse. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu was upset.
Why is it that the mouth of the donkey was created then in Moshe's? It was something specially created right before the world was created.
Because ultimately he's going to drive it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu ultimately will be upset with him.
But maybe he had some sort of ruach that was this.
If that would be like as HaKadosh Baruch Hu would be, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't be upset with him. Says the Tumas Sadeshin, it's a Rishon. Says the Tumas Sadeshin, you don't do this to the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's bestowed on you. You're a prophet. You have to behave like a prophet.
We find multiple places of using a donkey in Torah. Abraham Avinu to get Kedusha with a donkey. Moshe Rabbeinu came to
A female donkey? A female donkey? No.
They're all the same donkey.
Nope. So the Tumas Sadeshin says the Aton, the female one, the Aton, not the male form, is a lower one, and therefore it's disgrace.
Mashiach will ride in on.
A male one. That's the same one for Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah, of course. The word Aton is not mentioned in all the other prophets that are writing it. The pastor says, Bilam says, can't curse. I want to curse. I'm not able to. Ma'ekov lo kavakel. I'm not able to. I really would like to. It's like coming out of my mouth. Why? Pillei ploim of a medrash. Ma'ekov. Ma'ekov. How should I curse? These words are an acronym. Rashi Tevos Av. Melech ha'olam. Ma. Asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav. Ma'ekov. Because they have the koach of their mitzvahs, asher kideshanu mitzvotav, because they have the koach of their brachos that they say, I am not able to curse them. The koach that we have when we say blessings, it eliminates the koach of others to curse us. Since we talked about the donkey, who's the animal that lived for the longest time ever? Rabbi said many animals, you're familiar with them, Tanakh, all over. Which animal is the oldest that we're familiar with?
Leviathan. I think it's great to be made gracious, and he's going to be allowed to sue us of the Shia, isn't it?
Did you see him lately? No.
I was going to say the fish, but that doesn't make sense.
Which one?
The fish that will eat when Mashiach comes.
That's the same Leviathan that he's talking about.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
There's a chicken,
A bird.
a bird that survived.
Yeah.
The whole description.
The fool.
It wasn't around when Adam Chava.
It wasn't around?
Well, it only appeared after.
It was around.
It wasn't around.
It was around. But it did not eat while all the other animals did eat.
Right.
Says Rashi in Eov. And for that merit, it lives forever. It's called Of Hachol. In English, it's
The fool?
phoenix.
The phoenix, right?
Phoenix. And therefore it lasts forever. What does that mean? Every 1,000 years, somehow it's consumed in fire and it regenerates and creates new organs and limbs and continues flying again every 1,000 years. So it lives forever. So that this will take the title. But regarding the donkey that we just mentioned, you said the mouth of the donkey was created ben hashmashois before the world was created. So that seems to go even before the Livyasan, a few days before, or maybe a little longer before. So the Bartanura in that Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says 10 things were created ben hashmashois. What does that mean? Bartanura says it was a nigzar aleha. It was decreed then that ultimately, at one point in history, much later on, this donkey will start talking. Not that it actually was created at the time. It was decreed that one day, this donkey will start talking. So according to that, it doesn't get the title.
It had the DNA.
What's that? Right.
The DNA.
Right, but it's not still here, so the bird is still older than it. The Tosfos Yontov explains what it means, what the Bartanura just told us, because it's impossible, he says, that it would live from Sheshes Yemei Bereshis, from the time of creation, all the way to the time of Bilam. And therefore it means, Nigzar Aleh, it was decreed that one day, later on in history, it will be able to talk. And the Torah Chaim says the same thing, and he says, because otherwise you'll have another problem, because one of those 10 things is the ayil, the ram of Avraham Avinu in the Akedat Yitzchak. So you want to tell me? It lived all the time from 6 days of creation, all the time till the time of Avraham, impossible. And therefore they say, there was a decree that one day this will come, but not that the Maisa was created back then. That's what Rabbeinu Bechaye says, and that's what Tiferes Yisrael says. So we have 4 Gedolei Olam, but the Yavetz and his Sefer Lechem Shamayim, he says, why not? Yeah, it was created back then, and it lived thousands of years. And don't wonder about it, he says, because there's a Medrash and Bamidbar Rabbah, and the Medrash says, the cows that the Nisim donated to the Mishkan, they were at least 500 years old, and according to the Medrash Rabbah, according to the opinion of Reb Meir back there in Bamidbar Rabbah, they're still around. This is Reb Meir speaking about 1,000 years after they were already donated. So why are you surprised? So you have a cow which is 1,500 years old, maybe 2,000 years old. No. So you have another donkey who's also very old. Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. Medrash, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkos.
So a day, if the bird lived for forever, a day is maybe only considered 1,000 years.
No, this every 1,000 years it regenerates. Why is it a day? That's the days of Kodesh Baruch Hu. Ki elef shanim be'enecha ki yom esmol. That's a Kodesh Baruch Hu's days, but they're talking in our language.
Maybe it's referring to.
Why? It's talking about now, not only back then before creation. Now.
Because we can't see that it's really 1,000. We look at it as 1,000 years.
I would love what you say if you have some kind of documentations to back it up. Give me a source, Chazal.
Can't you say that the animal itself was created and then it's so taught the future generation, this donkey will talk?
Do you think animals come back in a Gilgul? They have nitzotzot?
Shara
Shara Gilgulim from the Arizal begs to differ, even though there are a few exceptions. But to say that, you need a source. You want to say such a big chiddush, you got to come up with some kind of a source. Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer says, Avraham Avinu got up in the morning, and he took Yishmael, he took Eliezer, he took Yitzchak, and he took the donkey. Which donkey did he take? This is the same donkey that was born back then, as opposed to what we said before. And it's the same donkey Moshe is riding on when it comes to Mitzrayim. And it's the same donkey Mashiach ben David bekorov b'yameinu will ride as well. Which is a pele pline, because if that's true, it goes against everything that Tumas Hadeshet just told us before. So maybe this donkey is going to grow a little taller. Maybe it's going to, I don't know. Maybe Mashiach is going to be very short. So it's not going to look as if he's walking because he's riding his, I don't know. This Tumas Hadeshet is a pele. Very hard to understand based on this Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer.
Again, the analogy again, that Hashem was angry him because he's riding a donkey instead of a Rolls Royce. Okay, but maybe we shouldn't think that in order to have respect of how you're getting around, do you have a golden chariot or do you ride?
So then HaKadosh Baruch Hu shouldn't be upset with Mashiach Tzidkenu, with Moshe Rabbeinu, or with Avraham Avinu, but
What if you could say that maybe at this point in time, no one really knew whose this donkey was. Now, by the time Mashiach...
and you're rich and you're able to bring a horse, so why are you riding a donkey?
No, sometimes that's just called an antique. It has a special value. Yeah, you'd rather get something which is, I once bought a pillowcase of some of the Rebbe in an auction. Pesach. Okay.
Intrinsic
It was
value.
10 shekels. I paid 120 pounds for it. Everything has a value once you know what it
Is there an Indian to have the pillowcase of an Adam Gadol? Question.
I would say yes.
I would agree with you. You have a Meshech Chochma, you have a Chassam Sofer that back you up. Meshech Chochma in Parshas Vayishlach says, Chassam Sofer says the same thing. When you wear something or you use something of an Adam Gadol, the Adam Gadol bestows the Kedusha on his items, and when you use them and when you wear them, that Kedusha, some part of it, is now on you. It's a big thing. A big raya to that. Kiddushin, think of Ayin. The Gemara says, Al meducha zu yashav Chagai Hanavi. Chagai Hanavi sat on this stone. Who cares? What do I care? What chair did he use? It's an Indian, you see, to use the items of an Adam Gadol. Moed Koton Daf Gimel, Perek Gimel in Yerushalmi. Maklo shel Reb Meir haisa beyadi, vehaisa melamedeto deya. I had the staff, the stick of Reb Meir, and it would teach me wisdom. So, a staff teaches wisdom. Using items of a great people, a big thing. You did something big. Very good. I don't know why you paid only 120. Well, you should have paid more, but you had a bargain. They didn't value. They didn't know the Meshech Chochma and Chassam Sofer.
Excuse the Mansi, the yeshiva, why they don't change the furniture, because the Kedusha is in the furniture. Don't change it.
I don't know if I once shared this here. In Novardok, there was a time 24 of the Talmidim of Novardok were taken to Siberia. And you can't take anything with you when you're going there. But for whatever reason, the Russians allowed the families to send cheese. That's the only thing they allowed to send to the prisoners. To be in Siberia without Gemara is a pikuach nefesh. Talmidim of Novardok, what are they going to do without Gemara? So they came up with a very clever plan, and they told their family, send us a piece of cheese and wrap it with one daf of Gemara. There's 24 Talmidim. Masechet Makos has how many dapim? 24. Excellent. We have a whole Masechet. We're going to do a siyum. And that's what they did. But before that, they went to the Chafetz Chaim and they asked, isn't it a bizayon to take a daf of Gemara and to wrap cheese and it's going to stink? And Chafetz Chaim says, no, that's a bizayon. Sometimes we use the concept, bitula hu kiyuma. You nullify Torah in order to uphold Torah. This is exactly what the Torah is for. So you should be able to sit and learn from it. Givaldik. But then they asked him, so what Gemara should we use? Should we use an old one or a new one? And the Chafetz Chaim said, use the new one. Because the old one has more Kedusha. It was already used. That's what you're saying. The new one has less the Kedusha. It was just printed now. It wasn't used yet. Use that one. If you already have to do it, use that one. So maybe that's what you're saying.
I don't understand. I understand. The new one doesn't have the Kedusha, the old one does.
Right. The new one doesn't have Kedusha, so if you have to make something stink and you have to wrap it with cheese, at least use something which has less Kedusha. But based on what we said before, we understand now what the Medrash says, that the donkey was older than Bilam. And it's a Chiddush, what the Medrash says, because even if we'll hold, like a Targum Yonasan says, that Bilam is actually Lavan Arami is actually Bilam. Even if we'll hold that, but if this donkey is all the way back from Sheshes Yemei Bereshis, or even before it was created in Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmashos, Mimele, it is older than Bilam. But as we said, the phoenix is going to be the record holder, because every 1,000 years it's still around here with us. But Leviathan is a good example as well. So let's talk a little about Tsar Baalei Chaim, which appears in the Pasha. Where do we see Tsar Baalei Chaim in the Pasha? Here's the donkey. According to the Rambam and Moira Nevuchim, that's the source for Tsar Baalei Chaim. We have 10 different sources by the Rishonim for Tsar Baalei Chaim, different places in the Torah and the Nach. Rambam holds that this is the source. Interesting halachic question. There's a family that bought a nice little pet, a rabbit. Reuven is a neighbor of this family. And he sees that they're torturing this animal. Mamish torture, what they do to this animal is unbelievable. He felt terrible. One day, he's walking in the park, and he sees this rabbit. He ran away. Now he comes and he asks, do I have the mitzvah of Hashava Saveda to give it back to the family that's going to torture this poor rabbit? They're transgressing Tsar Baalei Chaim, but I have a mitzvah called Hashava Saveda. I know it's the same rabbit. I don't know. They marked it or they spray painted it with red and yellow. We know it's the same rabbit. It has a little tag on it. My name is.
He's got a big black
Have long
eye.
ears.
What's that?
He has a big black eye.
Yeah, maybe they spread on the back. Belongs to. Should he return the rabbit to the family? It's going to continue torturing it or not?
100%.
100% yes. You have a raya? And that is?
He has a mitzvah. The whole mitzvah of
Returning.
not
Tzar Balei Chaim.
There's a mitzvah there. It's a bigger mitzvah, meaning that I can work with myself and get another mitzvah. For sure, I come before the animal.
That's you. If it's yours, it's not yours. You're giving someone else, and you're allowing them, you're assisting them to do an avera called Tzar Balei Chaim. There's a machlokes Tzar Balei Chaim deoraisa or derabbanon. We pass in as deoraisa.
The right hand. But when it's here, there's a case if it's so no, so that case something.
Because it's such a great thing, lakuf es yitzroi, to overcome and beat your yetzer. So we say, okay, in that case, go and help your friend, your enemy, load the donkey as opposed to help your friend unload. Why? Because we don't want you to hate any Jew. But lemaisa we paskin shulchan aruch paskins, it's a deoraisa.
First of all, what's the subject? Whether it's Tzar Balei Chaim used to be Tzar Balei Chaim.
Maybe they did tshuva.
Or maybe you should judge them favorably that they're not going to do it in the future. And the other one is if they really smash it up so bad, so they won't know that they can maybe how do they pick up with simani? Also, how are they going to be able to?
No, the simani. We said he knows, he identifies it because they spray painted it red and white and yellow, and there's a little tag says my name on it, and they already broke a few legs. It's a great simani. Who knows what it did to the poor animal?
You give it back, but if they live there, you're causing them to do many things.
Every single time they do this.
Therefore, you shouldn't do that.
But he says maybe they're not going to continue. They did tshuva. They did tshuva even though you saw him doing it multiple times and they have a chazaka that this is what they do. It's not once. You're seeing it for 3 weeks, every single day, the entire family.
You don't have to do it because you Messiah.
So you don't return. But 2 seconds ago you said you do return.
How is that?
Mishnah Rishona and Mishnah Shniya. Tfos Lashon Rishon or Lashon Sheni. You're saying you should give it back. He says no. Ad Shavua Shlishi ve'achya b'neihem. Who's going to be the brave Shlishi?
And tonight,
Al tonight.
they will do.
Do you see what they're doing in the home when the shutters are down? Night. You know, you've been sitting here for the last 3 weeks. You're torturing this little animal. Meshech Chochma in Dvarim, in Kiteitzeh, says, it's paskin la'alacha based on the Gemara in Baba Kama, one is not allowed to raise in Eretz Yisrael behema daka. Zagzera. Why? The behema daka goes to other people's fields, grazes there, and steals. Gezerah of Chazal, not allowed to. Says the Meshech Chochma, if you find your neighbors, someone else's behema daka, you should return. Chiddush. So according to this Meshech Chochma, we should say the same. Lemaise, they may sin. The guy is also sinning by raising this behema daka and keeping it in his field. But the Meshech Chochma says you must return it. So Lichora, you should return it here as well. However, I think 3 chilukim between the rabbit and the behema daka. First one. What's that?
That's a clear derabbanon.
Oh, that's a big one. So Gzera derabbanon. It's an Isur Deoraisa. Tzar Balei Chaim. You're giving him with your hands an Isur Deoraisa. Chiluk number 1. Chiluk number 2. The Isur of having the behema daka has nothing to do with my obligation of a Shavas Aveda. I'm not doing anything wrong. In other words, I have a mitzvah deoraisa, just like the owner has a mitzvah deoraisa called Tzar Balei Chaim. Some sources, Rashi in Bab Metzia, in Shabbos Kuf Kaf Ches Amud Beis holds, it's from the pasuk Azov Ta'azov Imoy. Should help your friend when he has to unload the donkey. The Rambam, Moreh Nevuchim, from us, from this parsha. Why are you hitting your donkey? The Chassam Sofer holds by Metzia Lamed Gimel from the pasuk V'rachamav al kol ma'asav. The Sefer Charedim holds that it's a branch from the mitzvah of V'halachta bidrachav. Walk in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, try to emulate him. We all have to try and emulate him. We all have to do this. Mimere, it's a mitzvah incumbent on both the one who owns the rabbit and me that I found it. So when I'm giving it to him, I myself is doing something wrong, which has nothing to do with the issue, the local issue of don't raise a behema daka, which the person who's raising it is doing it, not me. There's a big difference between the two. And more than that, the Meshech Chochmah himself, what he says is hard to understand. Why should I give it back to him? Perhaps the Meshech Chochmah is not here for us to ask him, but maybe what he means is, give it back. Sort of what they're saying like at night, but make sure that he doesn't continue to have this behema daka. Make sure that he shechts it immediately. Make sure that he brings it into a place that he won't be able to continue to raise it. Make sure that you tell him, listen, I'm giving it back. I'm going to give it back to you. But I'm warning you, I'm going to report you to the basin if you don't get rid of this. So maybe the Meshech Chochmah says, give it back, but do it in a way that eliminates the problem that he's transgressing the issue. But more than that, I think, what you said, since it's only a gzera derabanan, and here's an issur deoraisa, lechoira, it seems that he should not give back the rabbit to the family.
Don't change unless you have the million of a chokhmah. So why today that we have this zera, everyone seems to have all these animals extra?
Good question. Many asked this. I think it's because when the gezerah was instituted, it was when most of Eretz Yisrael was occupied by us. So when you let your animal go and graze in other people's fields, it's stealing. For hundreds of years, Jews were almost not here. Very few. So he made this gezerah as if it was cancelled on its own. It's not that it always continues, then you can't change it now. It was disappeared. That's what some want to say. But it's a good question. Many wonder about this. So some want to say because today, Baruch Hashem, I think the majority of people living here are Jewish, and the majority of fields are owned by Jewish people. But for many hundreds of years, that wasn't the case. We made it the gezerah as if it disappeared. But Shulchan Aruch does paskin la halacha 450 years ago that issue still applies. So Yerei Shamayim should absolutely not do it.
If something hurts someone and they lose it, it could be physical hurt, like if somebody drugs that killed them.
Perfect.
Have a mitzvah to give it back to them?
No, exactly. And that's why we're saying do not give, if he's going to kill, if he's not a medicinal purposes, and he's going to use it, misuse it, and potentially going to kill him, do not bring it back. Do not give it back to him. We made it just like this here. Don't give the rabbit back for the same reason.
What's the source for that?
His child, their own child.
The what? Baruch Hashem, they're not abusing the child yet.
If they're abusing the child,
Report him fast to the police. Fast. You have an obligation. What's that?
What's the parsha? What is the source? What is that? The source for that?
Sar Balei Chaim?
The Hashavat Avodah only applies.
That's not our pasha. Our pasha is a source for Tzar Balei Chaim. That's why I brought it. He said Mishpatim, source for Hashavas Aveda.
So I was once told that in that Kedusha, where it says over here, Abraham Avinu took the fire and the machelet, and he went, and Yitzchak said, here is the esh, and here's the etzim, where is the sefer, what the machelet? So I was told that he hid the knife behind his back. Why? Because in order, when you go to shecht an animal, you shouldn't show the knife, because it terrorizes the animal. Nothing they can, that's Tzar Balei Chaim.
Right. That's based on Gemara and Chulin. I think in Nun Tes or Samech, about when you're about to shecht, you should not show the animal you're shechting, the animal that came before it and was shechted. Each one should not see the animals because it gets very scared. The lungs contract and it can become a treifa from there. So definitely, because Avraham Avinu was mekayim all the mitzvahs of Torah before it was given, and therefore he was afraid of that as well. Having smell, you said? It's about seeing what happens to the other animal. That's what the Gemara says. Not smelling and not seeing after the fact. Seeing the actual Shchita is a potential risk for the behemoth which is not shechted yet, and that's what Avraham Avinu was careful about. Vayomer Elokim el Bilam.
So, how about the Avodas, what they did? They had lots of behemoths that got, like the behemoths of Muslim in the fields, like sheep and goats, their behemoths got caught in Israel.
Yeah, so we said some people are not careful with this, and some say the reason is because for hundreds of years we weren't here. Nobody was here, so the Gezerah as if disappears.
At the time of the Avodas, people were not here.
No. It's Gezerah de Rabbanon, not in the time of the Avos. It's Gezerah de Rabbanon, much later than the Avos HaKedoshim. But for hundreds of years we were expelled from here. There were no Jews here. Very, very few were here. So when the fields are occupied by Goyim, it's not relevant.
If he eats from the goat's field, is that an Avera?
But Chazal didn't institute this Gezerah for that. Chazal instituted the Gezerah for Jewish fields, not for Goyish fields. And therefore this Gezerah doesn't apply in Chutz La'aretz. We never instituted this in Chutz La'aretz, only in Eretz Yisrael.
I'm sorry, you know, you find when Aaron Lot's because he was grazing, his animals were grazing, that was the Goshen fields. So he was super machmir.
There were no Jews at the time, even Avraham Avinu is not Jewish. This is before Matan Torah. Can't bring a high from there. Vayomer Elokim el Bilam. Don't go with them. Lo telech imahem. Right? Don't go. What happens right after? Oh, you want to go? Cool. Lechitam. So am I going or am I not going? And not only does the Kodesh Baruch Hu seem to change his mind, as if, then he gets upset with him. Where'd you go? Vayicha Hashem, Kodesh Baruch Hu was upset with Bilam. I told you not to go, but you told me to go. So did he tell him to go or not to go? What's going on here? The pasuk says, Lo telech imahem. And then the pasuk says, Kum lech itam. Do go with them. So then the pasuk says, Vayicha Hashem ki hoy lechu. Kodesh Baruch Hu was upset. Everybody asks, what is going on here? You told me not to go. You told me to go. So ultimately, you told me to go. Mishnah Shniya, not Mishnah Rishona. So why are you upset that I'm going? Says the Gaon Mivina in Lashon Kodesh, there's a difference between the word im and the word et. Lalechet ito or imo. Two different things. When you say al telech imahem, im someone, that means you're going with them in the same machshava. Not just physically you're going with them. You have the same helech ruach, the same kav machshava. You are with them 100%, same intent. When you're going ito, itam, with et, aleph taf, then you're technically speaking walking with a person, but you're not necessarily thinking the same thing. Avraham Avinu goes to the Akedah, vayakod et Yitzchak beno. He tied him up on the Mizbeach. Two separate things. He is passive and he is active. Two separate things. So the word et is used there. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to him, listen, I don't want you to go, lo telech imahem. If you want to go, you can go. But don't go with the same intention to curse Klal Yisrael. And therefore, it's very clear when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to him right after, kum lech itam, go with them. Technically speaking, you can walk with them. But Khalila, don't start cursing them. And it's so meduyak from Rashi because Rashi says, when ultimately he went with them, Vayelech im sarei Moav. What is im? Same machshava. Rashi says, Libo kelibam shave. They had the same machshava and kavana in their hearts. Perfect. So anytime you do the same thing, the same machshava, it's im. If you're going with a person, but not with the same machshava necessarily, then it's the word et. So initially, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Lo telech imahem. Don't go with them with the same machshava. But then, kum lech itam. That's why afterwards HaKadosh Baruch Hu got upset when? Only when the pasuk says Vayelech im sarei Balak. Oh, I see that you're going with the same machshava, with the same kavanah to curse Klal Yisrael. So then HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets upset. Therefore, afterwards the Malach changes, and now the Malach says to him in the name of Hashem, Lech im ha'anashim. You want to be with them? Go with them. And now you'll be punished just like the midah keneged midah. You want it to be imahem, im sarei Balak. Fine. Go with them and you'll get the same punishment as them because you're just like them and you know better. And based on this Gaon Mivina, we can understand what we say in Shmoneh Esrei every single day. Ala tzadikim, ala chasidim. What do we do? What do we request in this bracha in Shmoneh Esrei? V'ten chelkeinu imahem. We want to have the same purity of heart. We want to have the same lot of the tzaddikim, the chasidim, that are boitchim, that are clinging to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and trust Him We want to have a part with him. And that's why Shlomo Melech warns, Barabat Reshaim, Bni, al telech baderech, itam, pasuk in Mishlei. Stay away from the Reshaim, even if you're just walking with them. No, from Reshaim you have to stay away because they may influence you in the wrong way. And therefore in the blessings under the chuppah, what do we say? Mesameach chatan, im hakala. If the chatan is going to be im hakala, they both getting married for the same kavana, to be ma'ami doiros yesharim, is going to be great shalom bayis here. It's going to be gewaldig. But if he's just marrying her because he wants to have his own earthly desires fulfilled, he has his machshava and it has nothing to do with her, so then Shlomo Melech already said a pasuk, Moitze ani mar memavet, I find better than death what? Et ha'isha. If it's only et, you're going with her, but with not imahem, not with the same machshava, it's going to be bitter, it's going to be explosions here. But Shlomo also said a pasuk, Re'eh chaim, with whom? Im isha asher ahavta, seek life with a woman whom you love. Im, if you're going together with her 100% with the same kavanos, it's going to be the greatest shalom bayis ever. Listen to how the Torah describes Bilam. Neum shomea imrei kel. He hears Kodesh Baruch Hu speaking. Asher machaze shakai yechese. He sees visions of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, the greatest person ever. Can this person ever fall? Pasuk says yes. Noifel. Glory enayim. If you misuse your eyes, if you look at what you're not supposed to look, or if you don't look at what you're supposed to be looking, noifel. How can such a person, even such a person, on a lofty level, a navi, noifel, he can fall? Yes. Glory enayim. There's a Gemara, frightening Gemara, in Bab Metzia Kuf Zayin. The Gemara says Rav had a special quality. He knew how to whisper on graves and find out what people died for. And Rav makes a statement. Out of 100 people, 99 die because of Ayin Hara. So normally we understand, I know, evil eye. But the Beis Yisrael said that's not what he meant. Ayin Hara means they're using their eyes in the wrong way. Maybe they can die. Noifel, you can go all the way down. Noifel glu yanaim. If you misuse your eyes, it can be detrimental. It can shorten one's life. So Bilam, we say such negative things. Let's do a positive spin. Is there anything to learn from Bilam regarding Hilchos Tshuva? Bilam Arasha, Hilchos Tshuva. What's the connection? So what? So what if he says Chatati? You're sending us to a medrash Bamidbar Rabbah, Parasha Kaf, Ot Tetvav. Listen to a language of a medrash. Vayomer Bilam el Balak Hashem, Chatati, I have sinned. What did we learn from this? He was wicked. Shehaya Rasha ve'arum ve'yodea. He knew. She'en oimed b'fnei ha'pu'anios ela tshuva. Listen to a language. She'kol mi shechoite. Anyone who sins. Ve'oimer chatati. But if he says, I have sinned, ein reshut lamalach lagat bo. Damaging angel does not have any permission to touch him. This is Bilam Harasha, who was just saying this to get out of the problems. What if a person does tshuva on a real level, high level, not tshuva me'ira, tshuva me'ava? Can you imagine? If Bilam, the malach can't have reshus to touch him because he said chatati, how much more so when we say chatati and we actually mean it? Gewaldig. Bilam himself, did he do tshuva? Did Bilam himself actually do tshuva? No. The Balak ben Azariah argues with you. Listen to a language of Yerushalmi. Masechet Soita, Perek Havav, Perek Hey, Allah Chavav. Rabbi Akiva darshans a pasuk. Who is Elihu ben Brachiel? Elihu, familiar with the name Elihu? One of the friends of Eov. Says Rabbi Akiva, you know who this is? Elihu is Bilam. Why is he called ben Brachiel? Because he came to curse Klal Yisrael, but Lemaiseh he blessed him. Rabbi Elazar ben Anazia wonders about him. Says Rabbi Akiva, if it's really him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already covered his name and hid it so you won't share it with others. Why are you revealing this? HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Navi, Eov calls him Elihu ben Brachel, not Bilam. So why are you revealing this to everybody? Says Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, don't say this. The Korban Ha'edah over there on the Daf in Yerushalmi explains HaKadosh Baruch Hu hid his name. and did not want to embarrass him and reveal his shame. Could be because he did tshuva. And you're revealing him, and you're going to give judgment on this le'asid lavo. Pilei ploim. Comes out from Korban Ha'eda. Bilam did tshuva. Greatest chiddush. Great. Anything else to learn from Bilam? What about Hilchos Kiddush? We're going to do Kiddush today, right? Anything to learn from Bilam regarding Kiddush? Did Bilam do Kiddush? I don't have a source for that. I don't think so. So what in the world can you learn from Bilam to Kiddush? Reb Shlomo Kluger, always very original, big Kiddush, Shnos Chaim, and the big Deyesha, Shtei Nevi'im Misnabim B'Signon Echad, and they both say, Balak said, Bilam said, Kum Balak Ushema. Get up, Balak, listen to what I'm about to tell you. I'm about to deliver you the words of Hashem. This should be a source that anytime you hear a daf of Kedusha, you should stand up. And that means Kiddush as well. And in fact, he wonders, of Shlomo Kluger, how come the Magen Avraham brings a raya from the Navi, from Ehud, that came to Eglon, Melech Moav, and said, stand up, I have something to deliver for you from Hashem. And he stood up. Why do you go to the Navi, but you couldn't go to the Torah? So he wonders why we don't bring a raya from Bilam to Hilchas Kiddush. You should stand up when you say Kiddush. Tremendous Kiddush. What leniency do we learn from Bilam regarding Hilchos Tefillah? We're making him to be a tzaddik. He's not a tzaddik. He's not a tzaddik. But is there any leniency we learn from Bilam regarding Hilchos Tefillah? Tremendous Kiddush. The Tosis in Masechet Brachos Daf Zayin Amud Aleph ask. The Gemara over there says that Bilam had the koyach to curse exactly at the second HaKadosh Baruch Hu was upset. Asked the Tosis, so what? What can you say in such a short time? And Tosis says, two answers. Either you can say the word kalem, destroy them, kaf lamed mem. You can say it in such a short time. Or Bilam was able to curse when Hashem starts being upset, and then it's over. But once you start at the right time, Mimele, you can continue cursing and it's going to take effect. Some want to say from here, this is a source, that if you start 2 minutes before Shkia, you're going to start davening mincha or any other prayer. If you start before the time, you can continue davening even though it's after the time because you started at the right time. Where do you learn it from? From Bilam Harasha. Tosis really, but Bilam.
How can you say that the Gemara Gittin says that Bilam and Yeshu and teachers that they are forever being punished in Canaan in all different ways? He hasn't done tshuva.
Maybe he did tshuva, and maybe it helped him that instead of being there forever and ever and ever in the lowest of lows, is one step above that. Who knows what the tshuva, his tshuva, what type of tshuva he did, what does it mean? He tried. The language of the Korban Ha'eda, Efshar mipnei she'asar tshuva. Could be because do tshuva, but what type of tshuva? I don't know. We don't look at him as one of the Lamed Vav Tzadikim of the generation, that's for sure. Is there anything to learn from Balak? A fundamental yesod in learning Torah.
So we said if you start to feel
on time,
and you end after it.
you end after you. Some say this is the source that you can do it and it works. You shouldn't do it. You should have it much earlier and not run into this problem. But anything to learn from Balak? We made already Bilam our teacher in so many areas. Anything to learn from Balak regarding learning Torah? A Gemara that appears 4 times in Shas. Nazir Chav Gimel Amud Beis, Soita Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, Sanhedrin Kufay Amud Beis, Hori Yisud Amud Beis, Mitoch Shelo Lishma Balishma. We learn it from Balak. What we quoted before. Bischar 42 korbanos, for the merit of the 42 korbanos he brought to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ultimately, something good came from it. Brachos for Klal Yisrael, and he merits to have root coming out of him. Mitoch Shelo Lishma Balishma. This is the source from Balak Arasha Pilei Plaim. So Balak brought korbanos not lishma. Ultimately, his descendant Shlomo HaMelech will bring many korbanos lishma in Beis Hamikdash. Pilei Plaim. Taima Dekro. Who's Taima Dekro? Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Zecher Tzadik Levrocha. He brings a medrash from Bamidbar Rabbah. The medrash's language is 2 chachamim were in the world. Echad mi-Yisrael ve'echad me-Umos ha'olam. Bilam from the Umos and Achitofel from Yisrael. And there were chachamim, but their wisdom does not last. Why? Mipnei shechatfu et ha'chokhmah. They snitched. They grabbed the chokhmah. What does that mean? Asks Reb Chaim, what do you mean to grab chokhmah? The pasuk says, Yahev chokhmata lachakimin. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives chokhmah to those who He decides to give them to. The pasuk says, Uvelev kol chacham lev natati chokhmah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives chokhmah. How can you grab chokhmah? Reb Chaim says something startling. And this is very, very, very important. Lemaisa, to us, if one learns in an inappropriate way, it's like he's trying to grab chokhmah. What does it mean in an appropriate way? He's learning in a way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want. He learns in Tisha B'Av. Learning on Tisha B'Av, you're not allowed to. He's learning when he's a mourner. He's learning on Leil Shabbos to the light of the candle. Chazal said, don't do this. He's learning to, in a place which is disgusting. Not allowed to do this. He is learning or thinking in Divrei Torah in disgusting places, or in the middle of tefillah, in the middle of Chazaras Hashatz, in the middle of Kaddish, that kol ze asu al pi din. One should not learn in the middle of Chazaras Hashatz. So this type of learning is as if you're trying to grab chokhmah, and that chokhmah will not last. So this is what he wrote in Sefer Tamadika. Many years later, came out a sefer from his Talmud called Kol Mish'alotecha. And there, he says that Reb Chaim once told him that after he put it out, Tamadika, somebody wrote him a letter. I think you went a little too much with this. You got carried away with this, saying that it's lachtof et chokhmah. Some people were matir it. And you should erase it from your book. Reb Chaim wrote a letter back to this person. The entire book was kedai to put out just to write the sentence, do not learn Chazaras Hashatz and Kaddish. In Sefer HaZikaron, Reb Chaim himself writes, one who is careful not to learn in places where you shouldn't learn, or in the middle of Davin, for that merit, he will have good memory. That's a Segula for Zikaron. And that's based on a Sefer Hasidim and Reb Chaim Volozhin. In Das Noita, again, we're going with Reb Chaim. In his Sefer Das Noita, he brings that he was asked, somebody told him, Rebbe, I'm so sorry to ask this question, but I'm a Melamed, I have a lot of Talmidim, and I learned with the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Kuf Chaf Dalet, Seif Katan Yud Zayin, and the Magen Avraham, one should not learn Chazaras Hashatz. But one of my Talmidim told me that he saw you learning in Chazaras Hashatz. So I'm so sorry that I have to ask you this, I just want to know, is it true or not? Reb Chaim writes him back, Sheker v'chazav adarabah. I am careful not to, and I warn others. Look at my Sefer Tamadika, how I wrote strongly against it. But then he adds, my father, the stapler, used to learn in Chazaras Hashatz, but only because he was hard of hearing. He couldn't hear the Chazan anyways. So he used to say Tehillim. But Chas v'sholom, to blame me, to accuse me, Chas v'sholom, my whole life I'm saying don't do this. In Orchos Yosher, listen to a language, again, we're giving 5 different books that Reb Chaim has written over the years. In Orchos Yosher, Reb Chaim writes, one is not allowed to speak, Chazaras Hashatz, one is not allowed to say Tachanunim, or even to learn, and one who learns at the middle of Chazaras Hashatz, not only will he not succeed, not only will he not be rewarded, he will be punished for it. And it could be that even the Eved is not Yoitze if he's saying Shnai Mikra ve'echad Targum. There's a time for learning and there's a time for davening. V'lo naga ze etzel ze. 2 parallel lines that do not meet. And again, as a Sefer Das Noita, Reb Chaim was asked, why are you so machmir? There are some opinions that we find that allow it. And some saying it's only asu because Amei Haaretz will learn from you, and they don't listen like you to the end of the bracha and know to say Amen. So why are you so machmir on this? And Reb Chaim writes his answer. Since it was paskin and halacha not to do this, and since sometimes it will cause brachos levatala, chas v'shalom la'asot ken. Chas v'shalom, stay away from this practice.
Is there a difference between the time that it takes from you finish your Shemona until the chazan starts?
So yeah, this is very shayach Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. You're definitely in a place where the chazan has to wait for an hour and a half in a yeshiva. You stay for an hour and a half. You finish after 6-7 minutes. So you're supposed to be mefatel Torah for an hour and 24 minutes? No. Then definitely sit and learn and do whatever you want in those and now we're 26 minutes. Normally, when it's just a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, at that point, say Tehillim. Better not to learn. In fact, amazing tshuva I saw from Tzitz Eliezer. He brings from one of the chief rabbis of Eretz Yisrael, the Rishon LeZion Harav Chana. I don't know who it is. It's Chet Nun Aleph, I think, Rashi Tevis. I don't know who it was from a few hundred years ago. That he writes about himself. The Gemara says in Brachos Dafei, if a person has all kinds of yisurim, should be mefashpesh bebasach. Well, look into what you're doing and try to do tshuva. Pishpesh velo matzah, yitle bebitul Torah. Bitul Torah is so terrible, so severe, and so easy to transgress. Mistama yes bitul Torah. That's how we normally understand it. But this Rishon LeZion, this chief rabbi, said differently, and the Tzitz Eliezer brings him. In Hebrew, it's called hafuch al hafuch, and he said, sometimes you need to be mevatel Torah, and I didn't. For example, after I finished Shmona Esrei, and I was waiting for the chazan to start, I was learning. Wrong. Shouldn't learn that. Yitle bebitul Torah. Why didn't you nullify Torah at the times that you were supposed to? And because of that, he had Yisurim. That's what he says. So no learning at the time if it's a normal 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. But saying Tehillim, anything has to do with Tefillah at that time is fine. And Tehillim, saying Tehillim is Tefillah. What in Kedusha?
During the Kedusha, sure.
During the Kedusha.
You said, Kadosh, 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 and then the Chazan and the congregation, they're singing, along.
He does singing.
Can you look in the Sefer?
So looking at Sefer is not a good idea back then, but be meharer, thinking about Divrei Torah, some allow.
So even if
Then the it's not part of Chazal's shots. But as soon as he starts speaking, stop.
even before the Chazal starts Chazal shots, you're not allowed to learn.
At that point, you should say Tehillim if you want. Say things relevant to Tefillah, not learning. Learning, Zman Limud Lechud, Zman Tefillah Lechud. 2 parallel lines that don't meet. Except, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, when you have an hour, you can learn. What can you learn from Bilam regarding chutzpah? Listen to the language of Chazal. Sanhedrin Kuf Hey Amud Aleph. Chutzpah, afilu klape shmaya mehani. Chazal say chutzpah, even towards the Kodesh Baruch Hu, it works. What's the proof of Chazal? Because initially, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Lo teilech imahem, don't go. But since he insisted, so Kodesh Baruch Hu says, okay, fine, kum lech itam, you can go. You see chutzpah, even klape shmaya, towards the Kodesh Baruch Hu works. If a chutzpah for a terrible thing like Bilam did to curse Klal Yisrael works, what if we use chutzpah in a good way? Kodesh Baruch Hu, I don't understand the Toises in Yevamos. And you repeat yourself, and you come back again every single day. What do you think, Kodesh Baruch Hu is not going to help you? Kodesh Baruch Hu, I really want to be able to open up a new shir. Kodesh Baruch Hu, I really want to be able to help someone. Be a chutzpah. If it works for Bilam for negative things, how much more is it going to work for us when we do positive things? Chutzpah learning from Bilam. The koyach of Bilam was ayin hara. Whose ayin hara has the worst effect on a person? You can give yourself an ayin hara? You have a raya for this? Chas v'shalom. Who told you this? You have a source to back yourself up with? You do. Tois v'strit, Baba Kama Pei Gimel. He brings a pasuk. Eini oilela lenafshi mikol b'nois iri. My own evil eye damaged me more so than all the people in my town. And Tois v'strit says, ayin hara that one may give to himself potentially is more damaging than anyone else. 2 points for that one. But why is that? Many ask. Somebody looked at me with an ayin hara. Why does he have a koyach over me? I didn't do anything wrong. So he walks down the street and he doesn't like what I'm doing or what I look like or what I own, and he decides to cast an ayin hara on me. Why should I be damaged? Michtav Meliyahu brings in Chelek Gimel an answer from his father about this. And his father writes him, why do you think he looked at you with an evil eye? Because he sees something that you have that he doesn't. He's envious of you. You caused him tsar. Why do you have to flaunt what you have? You're a billionaire? Great. Inside your house, do whatever you want. But why does it have to be an estate? Why do you have to drive around with a stretch limo? When you cause others tsar, there's no wonder that they look at you with evil eye. They want something that you don't have because you're showing it. And therefore, it gives us a reason to speak about Segulas to ward off and to fight the ayin hara. First one, Great Segula. Kli Yaakov brings it in our Pasha. Torah Chaim in Sanhedrin Kuf Hey brings it as well. Some we shouldn't bring it. I think the Ritva and Maseches Tainis. If you look at everyone with an Ayin Toiva, you will not be damaged from an Ayin Hara. Mida keneged mida. Be happy with what other people have. Give them compliments. Enjoy their wealth. Enjoy their wisdom. Enjoy their success. And you won't be damaged from Ayin Hara. There are 11 psukim, unique psukim, that starts with the letter Nun and end with the letter Nun. Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, 1,000 years ago, the Chida wrote it in his sefer and made it popular, and it's printed in many sidurim. Says to say these 11 psukim. Negat Saras, Kisiyeh Badam Uvay Lakoyen, starts with the Nun, ends with the Nun. You say the first pasuk 3 times, and then the rest of the psukim once. And then there's a Yiratzon. Some say it once a week, some say it every single day. It's a Segula to be shielded, protected from Ayin Hara. Listening to Birkas Koyanim, as Segula to be protected from Ayin Hara. Very easy for us. We get it every single day. In Chutz La'aretz, it's a little harder to do for Ashkenazim. Sfardim have no problem. So even Ashkenazi can go afterwards to a Sfardi shul and listen to Birkas Koyanim. But in the Haftarah for our Parsha is the best Segula. The Navi says, Micha, Perek Vav Pasuk Ches. Hegid lecha Adam Matov. I'm going to tell you what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from you. Ma Hashem doi resh mimcha. What does the HaKadosh Baruch Hu demand? Hatzneya leches im Elokecha. Be modest. Modesty doesn't just mean the way you dress if you're a woman. Modesty means inward and outward. Because anytime you attract attention, that's fertile ground for Ayin Hara. So the best gula to fight Ayin Hara is to be modest. To be humble. Not to show what you have and then people won't be envious of you. If they're not envious of you, there's no reason for them to cast an Ayin Hara on you. Im. Ah! You hear that? Ay, ay, ay. Write it down for yourself. Asneadachet. Im Hashem Elokecha. We're not going to say, Im is what? The same kavana. Emulate Ribono Shel Olam. What is the same Ribono Shel Olam? Megillat Daf Lamed Aleph. במקום שאתה מוצא גדולתו, שם אתה מוצא אין וסנוסו. Ay, 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 ay. It's worth it to come here today just to hear your Chiddush.
That explains how they had to use a donkey. She has to use a donkey as well, because he has to be humble.
But that's already the Gemara asks in Sanhedrin Design. Why is it that on one hand it says he's going to come on a donkey, on the other hand, a pasuk in Daniel says he's going to come riding on the clouds. So how is he going to come? With a Rolls Royce or with a donkey? And the Gemara answers, it depends. There's two types of Geulos. The pasuk in Yeshaya says, Be'ita achishena. In its time I will hasten it. That's a Talte de Sate. That's a built-in contradiction. Will it be in its destined time or will it be faster? And the Gemara says, depends. If you do tshuva, it comes today. If you do tshuva, it comes today. Supernatural. So then he comes in a Rolls Royce, riding on clouds. But if we don't do tshuva, the Geula will come, but in its proper time. Then everything is b'derech hateva. Then what can you do? He has to drive in a beaten-up car, 54 years old, a donkey.
How does the involvement fit in with this minhag that some people have that when a prophet gets married, maybe 19 or 20, he dresses already like a Rosh Hashanah at 95, like in the army, like a private soldier.
Since everybody knows he got married, and since everybody knows he's doing it only for the simcha, and usually right after the wedding, after the Shabbat he doesn't wear it anymore, it's just a very special garment for a chassan. Everybody knows the chassan. He's always walking with a shomer. He's never by himself. After that, he doesn't wear it. And sometimes they do wear it after on Yom Tov. And Yom Tovim, to honor Shabbos now, Yom Tovim. Young chassanim would wear it on Yom Tov because Yom Tov, there's an inyan to honor the Yom Tov with a nicer looking garment than on Shabbos. So everybody knows they're doing it for Simchas Yom Tov. Nobody suspects, I think, that he's always Shiva, unless maybe he's one of the giants. Who is the youngest rabbi that we ever find that gives halachic instructions? Youngest rabbi. That's Ben Azariah. He's ancient. He's 18 years old. One opinion in Yerushalmi that he's 16 in Masechet Brachos. Ancient. Avodah Zarah Nun Vav Amud Beis. Ahu Yenuka. Gemara says there was a baby, a little kid. Kebar Shis Shanin. He was only 6 years old. And they came and they asked him halachos about nisuch. Nisuch hayayin with a goy. How does it work? And the Tosis explains he didn't come to test him. Let's see. They came to ask him halachic instructions because he was an expert in these matters. A 6-year-old, Pile. So I think he should wear a long frock. Why not? So Balak says to Bilam, what did you do? I asked you to curse them. And what did you do? You blessed them. Lakov oivai lekachticha. I asked you to curse. Veine. Berachta barach, and you give a bracha. Why is this word used, lakov, to curse? Why can't you say lekalel? It's more common. What is this lakov? Says the Chassam Sofer, in the name of Rabbi Akiva Eiger, based on the Chesed leAvraham. There are 354 days a year. 132 days that we do not say Tachanun. 222 days that we do say Tachanun. Together, 354. Says Bilam, says Balak to Bilam, what did you do? Lakov oivai lekachticha. I wanted you to curse Lamed Kuf Beis 132. Those 132 days that they do not say Tachanun because it's great days, Yamim Tovim. I wanted you to curse and destroy them and turn them to days that they do say Tachanun. And what did you do? Vehine, you did the opposite. Vehine berachta, you blessed the Barech Beis Reish Chaf 222 days. You bless the days of judgment that they do say Tachanun, and Mimena, they're not going to turn into Yamim Tovim, and they're not going to have to say Tachanun. You did everything wrong. That's what he was complaining about. Vayisa Meshalo Vayomer. Neum Bilam Beno. And then he called himself Uneum Hagever. What does that mean? Stum Ha'ain? What is, and he says it twice. What does Stum Ha'ain mean? Different opinions in Chazal. The Ibn Ezra say he was missing one eye. And that's what the Gemara says in Sanhedrin Kufay. He was missing one eye. Gana de Pilpele explains. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says, over there in Kufay Amud Aleph, that the word Bilam is actually a notrikon. You can break it into two. Bala he wanted to devour and to destroy the nation, Klal Yisrael. Bala, Beis Lamed Ayin, Ayin Mem. If you break it in two. So Bilam was complaining, I want to curse him. I can't seem to be able to do it. I want it to be Bala'am, but I can't, because one ayin is missing. I only have one ayin in my name. Bilam, Beis, Lamed, Ayin, Mem has one ayin. I need two. Bala'am. I need one more ayin. But unfortunately, I'm stuma ayin. I'm missing one ayin. That's what he was complaining about. Based on what he says, I thought maybe we can add. The Aruch on that Gemara in Sanhedrin Kufay says another notrikon, or explains more in the Gemara. Bilam is a notrikon of belo without a nation. Beis Lamed Aleph, Ayin Mem, without a nation. In other words, he wanted to curse Klal Yisrael and to destroy them, but he also wanted to be part of Klal Yisrael. You see, Bilam himself says, Tamot nafshi mot yesharim utehi achriti kamo. I want to be like them. That's what he was complaining about. Stum ha'ayin, I'm missing one ayin. The below without the nation, I can't come into Klal Yisrael and I can't die and be like them. That's why he repeats himself twice. He was complaining about the physical eye that he was missing, and he was complaining about the spiritual problem. I can't curse them, and I can't go into that nation, and therefore he says, I'm missing an ayin, stum ayin, not a physical ayin only, a letter-eyed ayin that I'm missing in my name. I would have liked to have Bilam, Beis Lamed Ayin, Ayin Mem. Unfortunately, I only have one. There will be after you establish one. Establish a connection and we'll find it. A Segula for concentration. We all want it, right? Rokeach. Rokeach is one of the Rishonim, Rosh Verishon, Rabbeinu Rishonim, and he writes. Bilam says, Stum Ayin. Says the Rokeach, when one opens one eye and closes the other, just like the snipers do, then one can focus more on what he is learning and can concentrate more. And he adds and he says, V'chen minhagi, and this is what I do. Rabbi Isai, a very, very important question. Is there any time that you can finally let go the fighting of the Yetzer Hara? You're 92 and a half years old, you're 103. Can you say, been there, done that. I've been fighting my whole life. Baruch Hashem, was successful. Can you ever let go? You're saying no. Why not? What's that?
Not till the day you die. You can't.
Till the day you die? Why? Who says this? Brachos. Brachos, Daf Chav Tes Amud Aleph. Al tamen be'atzmecha ad yom motcha. Don't believe in yourself until the day you die. Why? The proof is Yochanan Kohen Gadol served 80 years as a Kohen Gadol, and yet, after 80 years, and he didn't start when he was a baby. He starts at least when he's 30. So maybe he's 30, 35, 40. After 120 years, he wakes up one day and says, Rabbi say, conservatism, that's the way to go. Becomes a tzadduki. Unbelievable. 80 years in Kodesh HaKodashim, that means he didn't have an improper thought, even one Yom Kippur, for one split second, because if he did, he would die right there and then. The biggest tzaddik, and yet, that's what Chazal say. Rabbi say, Yochanan Kohen Gadol is a baby. The Maharsha makes a calculation. Sanhedrin Pei Beis Amud Beis. Zimri ben Salu appears in our parsha. Zimri was lechol hapachos, at least 250 years old. Imagine. The greatest tzaddik. He's a prince of the tribe of Shimon. 250 years old! And he comes to do such a thing, befaresi, in front of everybody. Apparently, al ta'amin be'atzmecha ad yom moisra, don't believe in yourself until the day you die, even if you get to live 250 years. We're finishing with the end of Parshas Balak. We have a rule. Or Chaim Siman Kuf Lamed Chet, we learn. You must finish with a davar toiv. How does this parsha end? Vayu hametim b'magefa, 24,000. Beautiful, huh?
Why did you say just 24,000? In all, I've worked out, said Rashi says that Moshe told the judges to go and kill all their men that had been attached to this idol worship. So Rashi says there were 80,000 judges, and each of them killed 2 people. So they've got 160,000, plus the 24,000 that's mentioned explicitly. We've got almost a third of the number of Jews that went out of Egypt, the number of men between 20 and 60 killed, according to that calculation. That's the equivalent of a Holocaust. And yet it doesn't seem to be mentioned in the same level as other incidents like after the...
If you look at Gittin Nun Zayin, the numbers are startling over there. At the time of the Churban, unbelievable numbers. What Nebuzaradan did and what was going on in the city of Beitar, great number. According to some opinions, if you do the math, you'll get to 940 million. A little more than the Holocaust and a little more of this put together. So there's different times in Klal Yisrael, unfortunately, where we suffered horrific events. So, one of them. The Pasuk says, the last Pasuk, and the people who died in the plague were 24,000. But we are supposed to, it's the sources from Yalkut Shimoni, we must stop. B'davar toiv. It's passing halacha Shulchan Aruch. Siman Kuf Lamed Ches. So what's so good about this? So perhaps we can say, the previous Pasuk says, the Magefa stopped. The plague stopped. Now they're just telling us, Baruch Hashem, it stopped. 24,000. Could have been 25,000. Could have been 24,001. Could have been 5 million. Baruch Hashem, it stopped. And that's a davar toiv. More. The Gadol Vilna says, the 24,000 that died, it's a gezeira from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but there's built-in rachamim. Because there were people that anyway had to die. It's their time. He was 120 years old, a full life. Or for whatever reason, he did something else wrong. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu exercised his rachamim, and it's not that 24,000 new people died, people that anyway had to die. So we see from here, the rachamim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that when he punishes, he still uses rachamim, and he made it, that's a davar tov. But, on top of this, we can add what the Piskei Teshuvos writes. Parshas Kedoshim also stops. Ends with not such a good thing. The punishment of Misa for a person who sins with Ov or Yid Oni. He should surely die. That's what the last pasuk of the Parsha. Parshas Balak as well. Yes, because some say, something bad happens to wicked people? There's no problem, because the pasuk says, Be'avod Reshaim, Rina, you should be elated, you should be simcha when a Rasha dies. These 24,000 people did something wrong. So it's a very good thing, we got rid of them. We got rid of them. A person sins in Ovi Yuduni in Parshas Kedoshim. It's a very good thing, and that's why the Parsha ends with this, because there is a good thing built in, even when we see things which are seemingly negative. This should give us strengthening in Bitochon and Emunah. When you look around, you read the news, you shouldn't read the news. But if somehow you came across some news, and you see things which don't sound so good, Medrash Rabbah Parsha Nun Aleph in Bereshis, Ein Davar Ra Yoyred Milemala. Rabbi Akiva already taught us. Wachos Samech Amud Beis. Kol ma de'avid Rachmana. Everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. Hakol letoiva. Good Shabbos.